Welcome to the Author's Studio at Book Expo 2007. We're here with Peter Cameron, the author of a coming-of-age novel entitled Someday This Pain Will Be Useful to You. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you.
Now, you first wrote about a similar character to the main character in your new novel, James, when you were in your early 20s. And now you've returned to write about James after many years in the publication of several novels. What was it about James and his voice that was so hard to ignore and made this story so important for you to tell?
I think when I was a young writer, I was writing mostly short stories in many of those stories featured a young teenage male narrator, which was a voice very close to myself at that point. I could never write a novel, though. I kept wanting to write a novel, and it made sense that I would write a novel about a younger person. But I think I was too close to the material at that point in my life, and in a way that transcended it, that would make for a good novel. A coming-of-age novel, I think you have to, in some ways, have come of age before you can write a coming-of-age novel, and I don't know still if I have come of age, but I am 30 years older, and I think I had a perspective on that character that I simply didn't have when I was that age, and so I could... I could think about a novel that would feature him. Also, I think for me, I've always written about, I've never wanted to write autobiographically. I always need to transpose what I'm feeling and thinking onto an imaginary character. And I think it's just taken me a long time to create a character that turned out to be James, who felt different enough from me in many ways that I was able to tell this story about his coming of age and my coming of age, finally at this point.
So, is it autobiographical or is it not autobiographical?
I think like all my work, it's autobiographical in an emotional way. I feel very close to James. A lot of the things that he thinks and feels are things that I think and feel. But in terms of the specifics of his life, it's not at all autobiographical. In a way, it's a bit of a fantasy. I grew up in the suburbs, and James is a real New York City boy, and which is something I always sort of dreamed about or wanted. I think the idea of that was very appealing to me. But I think it's also, it's about not wanting to write autobiography and so wanting to create a character who resonates with me but is not me.
All right, James is 18 years old.
Right.
He is smart as can be, extremely intelligent. Yet this works not just for him, but against him in many ways. How is being so smart for a young adult isolating, difficult, etc.?
I think it can be, and I think in James' case, because of his particular kind of intelligence, it is isolating, and it serves to further alienate him rather than connect him with people, because I think a lot of his intelligence is driven by a desire to escape from himself or to visit other worlds or other cultures or other times, and I think when you're uncomfortable with yourself and who you are, you're unsure of who yourself and who you are, getting lost in a book of Anthony Trollope's that's 1,000 pages long can take you weeks to read, can be a very diverting, satisfying experience because it takes you outside of yourself and allows you to explore who you might become or options that are out there in the world. And I think that's something that doesn't, connect you with other young people. Sitting alone in your bedroom reading Trollope doesn't. It's something that doesn't, make you the most popular person.
In the book, James has difficult relationships with most of his immediate family, except for his grandmother. What does his grandmother provide that makes that relationship better?
I think the relationship that James shares with his grandmother is simply one where they share a common intelligence, a way of thinking about the world. Also, I think they share a sense of humor, a way of what they find amusing, and I think they're both people. I think his grandmother's an older woman who's, had a very sort of busy, active life and is now living alone. And I think James feels very alone. And they're two people who I think appreciate one another and find one another of value to themselves. And I think that's something that as you get older, you find that with other, you hopefully find that with a lot of people, and you form relationships with people. But I think for James, he hasn't found that with a lot of people. He doesn't feel comfortable with a lot of people. He doesn't feel accepted by a lot of people, and he does by his grandmother. And so it's a good relationship for him.
And those feelings make for an awkward part of the book where he's trying to date another gentleman named John.
Right.
How does that work or not work?
I think it basically doesn't work because I think James has no idea how to go about connecting with somebody else in that sort of romantic way, partly because I think he can't imagine it, for a couple of reasons. One, it involves his homosexuality, which he hasn't really come to terms with. I think he knows he's gay, but as he says at one point in the book, what does it... I'd never do anything gay, so does that, I've never done anything, I can't imagine doing anything gay, so in what way am I gay? And also this is a coworker of his, so there are all these reasons why he can't connect in an easy way with John, and so he goes about trying to connect with him in a way that's sort of disastrous and also sort of cruel, and so in a way it just sets him back even further, because his one attempt to connect with somebody ends making him feel quite miserable.
Well, I did say it was a coming-of-age novel, so eventually he does come of age. How does James eventually let people in?
Yeah. I think, it's interesting because in thinking about this idea of people who are alienated and that idea of letting somebody in, I think that implies that somebody who is alienated is hard and is unfriendly or unfeeling, and I think it's in some ways just the opposite. I think people who are alienated feel too much and are bruised very easily. And so it's not a matter of softening. I think it's a matter in some ways of learning, of toughening up a little bit and realizing, not taking things to heart so much, and learning to be with people in a way that cutting people some slack and not judging people, and I think James makes some steps in the course of this book in terms of realizing that people can disappoint you, but not fatally, and you can, disappoint them, and it's not the end of the world, and that it is possible to perhaps connect with people in a way that's mutually satisfying.
Again, the book is called Someday This Pain Will Be Useful to You, and the author is Peter Cameron. Peter, thanks for coming by.
Thank you.